What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here, bringing you a TLG reacts to the Sony acquisition of Bungie. Apparently, we are moving from a console war to an acquisition war, which was my biggest fear, but here we are, and we're going to talk about it. Chevy, hopefully you're doing well. Are you excited to talk about more acquisitions? Are you looking forward to more acquisitions?
I have a feeling we're not done talking about this. So.
Well, according to Sony, we're definitely not done talking about this. But yeah, as I'm sure everybody knows already, Sony is purchasing Bungie, and it is to the sum of $3.6 billion, so nothing like the $68.7 billion that Xbox is paying for Activision Blizzard, but this is a single developer. We're going to go through some cliff notes real quick on what I've gathered info-wise. I got a quote from an interview they did with Jim Ryan about this as well, and then we'll discuss what we think of this acquisition that honestly surprised me when I woke up. Not as surprising as the Xbox thing, because that was like a huge chunk of gaming essentially swallowed up, but not my first thought on who Sony would potentially be buying. Okay, so in my notes, I got the Sony acquisition of Bungie will be for the sum of $3.6 billion, which is the purchase price. For anybody wondering, this is not out of retaliation. This has been going on, I guess, for about 5 to 6 months so far. So this is just the perfect time to announce this on my birthday. That was a great gift, Sony, to get me for my birthday. Bungie. Let's see. Sony says to absolutely expect more acquisitions. So they are on a shopping spree, apparently. And let's see. Destiny 2 will stay multi-platform. Bungie will still be able to self-publish, and they will still be creatively independent. So Bungie's been pretty good about what contracts they sign when they sign up with people, because they're able to leave Activision with their IP. Yeah. So that was very smart. I'm sure they learned a lot from the original time they left Xbox and they couldn't keep Halo.
Yeah.
So very smart. Although when you look into the wording, when it says they are able to self-publish, it says able. So that means, I'm assuming Sony will have expectations of them, but they will also be able to do their own thing as well. So that's worth noting. Sony says they are motivated by wanting to expand live service gaming. So that's kind of a given that Bungie has a live service game that they have been working on for a while now. Sony is offering Bungie technical resources and access to movies and TV. As most people know, Sony Pictures is their movie department, so they have the ability to make movies and TV, and Sony's a tech company, so they can obviously help with that kind of thing. And according to a couple devs I was reading on Twitter today, they said that when they originally signed up with Sony's like really good at supporting ideas with finances, obviously, but also tech. So that is interesting. So those are the cliff notes. We can revisit those in a sec, but I do have something that I want to read. This is from gamesindustry.biz, which I guess is the only people who got to interview Jim Ryan about this. We're not going to read the whole article, so go check that out if you're curious. But one part I did want to kind of read was kind of the ambitions of what they're doing with this acquisition. This is Jim Ryan quoted saying, "I've been on record talking about increasing the size of PlayStation community and expanding beyond our historic console heartland. This can take many forms, and definitely one of the main ones is the ability for the wonderful games that we've been making over the past 25 years to be enjoyed in different places and played in different ways. We're starting to go multi-platform. You've seen that. We have an aggressive roadmap with live services and the opportunity to work with and particularly learn from the brilliant and talented people from Bungie that is going to considerably accelerate the journey we find ourselves on." One last thing I want to add to this before we talk about it. I was reading Bungie's post, and they wanted to essentially confirm to Destiny players that nothing's changing. It will be multi-platform. That doesn't promise future IPs made between Sony and Bungie will be multi-platform, although they've kind of made it sound like that's going to be the case. Sony's been very clear about that. As soon as this happened, they're like, "It'll be multi-platform." So
Sony's the first line.
Sony's really good about like when Xbox does something, they try and make them look bad. Because Xbox is being like, well, 3 years, we'll see what happens. Sony's like, yeah, it's multi-platform. So that was really interesting. But also Bungie said that the first thing they're going to do, hitting the ground running under Sony, is hire more people to realize their vision.
Well, I mean, they got $3 billion. So,
yeah. So a lot of info to take in. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think about the acquisition of Bungie? Do you think it's a smart move? Do you think it's kind of confusing? It's a bad move. The $3.6 billion for purchasing, and what do you want from this?
Man, where to even start?
Yeah, it's not like they bought Activision and Blizzard all at once, and we got to go through every single dev. It's one dev, which is nice.
Well, so the big thing, to reiterate again, and I've seen these concerns pop up on Twitter as well. So I know it's not just like a singular minded thing, but it is a little freaky when two giant companies just are buying up everything, right? Yeah. I'm just gonna keep repeating that every time we have to do this because it should be something people should be thinking about.
I agree 100%.
I understand brand loyalty to an extent, but you should not be like so loyal to a corporation that you just accept everything they do. So that's scary. Don't do that.
Yeah, I've been preaching ever since the Xbox thing that the idea of PlayStation retaliating against that bothers me, but also bothers me Xbox took the step because the console war will turn into an acquisition war, and then you're gonna have two huge conglomerates.
It's gonna turn to the food industry.
Yeah, and I'm not excited about that. Anyway.
So outside of that, as far as like what I think about it, I mean, I think for the same reason Microsoft looked at Activision and saw perceived not weaknesses, places that they could grow in, that being a mobile market, that being online games the way Blizzard does them, that being the whole essentially owning every shooter almost. But, Sony said it in their own interview. They don't really have that. So what do you think of when you think of Sony, right? You think of third-person
AAA
action adventure games, right?
First or third-person, action adventure games.
Yeah, you don't think games as service games. Well, they're looking at that, obviously, and they want to fill that void. So in that regard, it is smart because obviously games as service stuff works. Regardless of even like reputation stuff. I mean, like look at World of Warcraft is a great example of something that has gone through a lot of bad press lately. It's not failing by any means. That game is way successful still. Like it's not a good look and a bad trajectory if they don't turn that around. Which this isn't about that, but they have been making some positive changes lately. Hopefully they keep that going. It's the same. It's the whole idea of like. That something that can just bring you constant money, and I think they want a piece of that, and I completely understand that. I mean, even Amazon. I mean, we got Lost Ark coming out this month now in February. They want a piece of that too. So
yeah, it's worth noting that PlayStation first-party games typically come out. They sometimes have DLC, but sometimes they don't. And that's it.
That's
so they get renown for the amount of work they put into the storytelling, stuff like that. But they don't have that long revenue stream, that money machine essentially. That was one of the first things I thought too. Is like they just acquired a money printer.
Yep.
I mean, you can say all day if you like Destiny or not, but it's making money right now, and so they just bought a stream to make money off of that. But also potentially have somebody who invented Halo to possibly make something for them that they might be feeling weak at. First-person shooters.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a again, working on the strengths or weaknesses and strengths of a company, right? So, and then to even just go back to the game service thing, this is the third big company in a row to buy into a basically money printer. I mean, 2K bought Zynga.
Take-Two.
What did I say?
2K.
Yes, Take-Two. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. In this month alone, Take-Two bought Zynga for like 12 billion, 12 point something billion, and then
mobile games.
Microsoft, yeah, exactly. It seems like everybody's trying to get a little piece of that kind of thing going on. And then Microsoft does this fucking 68.7 billion on the craziest acquisition ever. Yeah,
is a the money printer.
And now PlayStation's getting a piece of something that's just online making money. So it's a crazy 2022 is starting off in kind of a way that I fear, but in a really crazy way
for sure. So is it smart? Yes. And the wording so far has been positive, the same way it has been with the Activision acquisition. I do almost wonder if Sony and Microsoft are getting more to a point of just becoming less publisher and more just investor at this point. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure of where we're heading in gaming, but one thing I'm seeing in this month alone, everything's changing.
Yeah.
The big three doesn't exist anymore, or won't once that acquisition is completely finished. I keep seeing rumors of people are eyeing EA. EA's been in trouble too, so maybe they're going to look at what Activision did and go, hey, somebody want to buy us? We keep fucking up outside of Respawn. We can't make a Battlefield for some reason. We don't know how to fucking do that. We've completely destroyed BioWare. We keep hearing stuff like that. And then Ubisoft, I don't honestly care what they're doing at this point because fucking they just keep adding insult to everything, especially with that NFT bullshit. The big three's gone. So that's a really interesting thing. And now we're starting to see strategic positioning on acquisitions.
Yeah.
And so I really don't know where we're going in gaming, especially when people are talking about multi-platform, which isn't anything new. It's just expanding, it seems. But also this moving beyond consoles, a thing that Phil Spencer said in 2018 and now Jim Ryan's also saying now. Which is inevitable anyway. But
I mean, a lot of people didn't think we were going to get this console generation. So, I mean, I think we all have like this idea that this is an eventuality, obviously. But
yeah, I just think we don't know how. I don't think we can make the determination of when that's going to happen, though, because I think as long as there's a market for something, they will sell it to you. Mm-hmm. So, but this is definitely starting to make me question where the industry is going. It's pretty crazy. Do you have anything else you want to say real quick?
No.
Okay, so I got a bunch of thoughts on this, obviously. I woke up, I read this. I didn't have the same reaction as the Xbox thing, but I was just like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. There's a bunch of devs and publishers that, first off, I want to say, I don't want an acquisition war. We already went over this, but I just want to be clear as fuck. I'm going to start talking about things I think they can do and what I want them to do. But in an ideal world, I want new devs. I want independent devs. I want a healthy ecosystem. I don't want fucking two major companies or whatever. But yeah, just being clear with that. But there's all these publishers and stuff I've been thinking about possibly if Sony was going to buy somebody, who they would buy. I never thought for a second Bungie. But as soon as I read that they are acquiring Bungie, I was like, this makes sense. Bungie's a AAA FPS developer with a legacy. Bungie created Halo, made the best Halos. I don't think you can really argue against that. They made Halo 1 through Reach. Great legendary games. They made Destiny. Whether Destiny's in a bad place or a good place, there have been times where Destiny and Destiny 2 have been very celebrated. So they know how to make shooters. So first thing I thought was Sony just bought a FPS developer. That doesn't mean that Bungie couldn't make something that's not an FPS, but they definitely know how to make one.
Yeah.
And in a time where Xbox has essentially bought all the FPSs outside of Battlefield, and I didn't think about Destiny, but Battlefield and Apex Legends and Titanfall kind of makes sense that Sony, and this isn't retaliation, but it kind of makes sense Sony would get one of those before it's gone.
Also, side note, just because you brought up Apex, 4th most played game on Steam when I checked today.
Well, that's why I'm worried about someone wanting to buy EA. Because, I mean, fuck Ubisoft at this point, but like EA's got properties and it's got Respawn.
Yeah.
So that would be an acquisition worth looking into, and they're a lot cheaper than fucking Activision Blizzard. So anyway, they bought an FPS dev and a highly talented and sought after one. These guys get around. They've been with everybody. It's fucking weird. They were acquired by Microsoft, Activision, and now Sony. And who knows? Maybe they'll leave Sony and then get acquired by somebody else later, given their track record.
It's just gonna be the way to stay afloat.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe smart on their part. They're just getting bought out, getting chunks of money, moving on, signing contracts that don't lock them in. Apparently, I mean they're really really good at that. Something I think a lot of devs couldn't do. So anyway, they bought that. They also bought a games as a service with Destiny. It's smart of them to not fuck with it. Let them do their thing, help them make it better, and just print that money.
If any type of game should be on everything, it should be service games.
Sure, 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even with like Call of Duty, I'm like, don't fucking think about locking it off, dude. Just leave Call of Duty alone. Let it do its thing. You're gonna make your fucking money. So yeah, they are buying something that they don't have, and so even though the ones I'm thinking they should get, this one just makes more sense because it's very Sony. It seems so strategic. It's a weakness they have, and so that's one of the first things they did. In case you're curious about the devs and publishers, I think they should purchase if they were going to do it. I don't want them to do it. I think Square Enix would be a really good one. I think From Software. Well, would you want Xbox to buy Square Enix?
I don't want anyone to buy Square Enix.
I don't either. But I'm saying, I don't want
anyone to buy From Software either.
I don't either. But I'm saying, if they were going to buy people, I think these would be good fits. Fucking Square Enix, From Software. Oh God, I had another one. What was the other one? God damn it!
I forgot. He's on Twitter,
Konami, yeah. I think Konami would be the best one because it's defunct, it's dead, and the properties have been on Sony for a long time. Oh, and Kojima Productions. That one seems obvious to me. In fact, if they bought Konami and Kojima Productions, we could get some real justice.
Well, and then just speaking like purely out of just having good relationships with companies, and I'm not trying to give, they don't need my ideas, but Square and Kojima Productions already have positive relationships with Sony.
Yeah. So I don't want anybody to buy these people, but if Sony were going to do it, I think these would be good fits. But this is me being narrow-minded in the sense that I'm like, oh yeah, all these Japanese devs have great relations with each other. Like they all have made games together for a long time, but I'm not thinking about the bigger picture with like Bungie and like strengthening their net. I mean, this is why they're Sony and I'm not. But yeah, those are the ones that make sense to me the most. And in my brain, it's defensive too. I'm like, would you want Square Enix to be bought out by fucking Microsoft? Because then, like, I don't know. It'd be weird. That'd be a weird one.
Well, and then speaking of weaknesses, it would be smart of Microsoft to buy a Japanese dev.
That's what I was telling somebody today. I brought that up. I'm like, would you want Xbox to own them? And he's like, no. And I was like, it'd be smart of them to do that, though, if you think about it, because that's a huge weakness of theirs.
Yeah.
But again, people have to agree. You have to offer them something. And sometimes a lot of money isn't it. You got to, have a good relation. You got to be able to offer them resources and stuff like that. So, people have this idea that Microsoft just walk around just able to buy whoever. And it's like, unless they do like a fucking... like a takeover, that you can't just buy people like that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I see this as Sony casting a bigger net than they had before. I do think it's interesting that they're emphasizing multi-platform and moving beyond PlayStation. Also, in the same day that they showed MLB The Show, which is a Sony game, is coming to Nintendo.
Didn't it come to Xbox a couple years back as well?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it did.
I don't remember. But it was a really interesting thing that they showed it on the same day.
That is interesting because, I'm pretty positive that one is also on Xbox. And I think it's because it's the only like officially licensed baseball game. So I'm sure the people who were in charge of baseball probably had some say in that.
Yeah. And then also, I don't want this to happen at all. But I said this on Twitter. I was like, what if... It's not going to happen. But what if Microsoft's getting too big and fucking Sony and Nintendo do a partnership. That would be fucking crazy.
Let's not do this.
Yeah, and but you have to start thinking about the shit because it's happening, right? As soon as Activision Blizzard got bought, I was like, anything can happen at this point. I never thought they were going to get bought out, and they did. And it's like, well, and that's the most expensive out of all the devs. Again, they'd have to agree. Anybody getting bought would have to agree to do it. But
yeah, I think, and that particular situation, I think, is such a multi-layered thing too. Because I honestly think part of that too is Bobby just trying to run away.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, but that's why I'm worried about EA.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they can't get a win outside of Respawn.
And Madden, but yeah.
True. But Madden's...
Oh, FIFA. FIFA's huge.
FIFA, yeah. Yeah, but outside of that, like, all the things they keep trying to land, they can't do it. And so I'm like, they might get inspired. And I would hate to see somebody buy them, and I would hate to see Xbox buy them, because that would just be too much in one place. And I'd hate to see Sony buy them. Potentially somebody could make them, fix their shit. I don't know. That's just a theory. I don't know if that would actually happen or not. I honestly think EA needs to fucking just put Vince Zampella as CEO of the company. They need to take him, boost him to the top, and be like, fix EA, because Respawn's the only thing we got, and you're running that. So
Except for every interview is going to be that guy just stoned.
Apparently, whatever the fuck he's doing right. So, so to move this conversation along, that's my thoughts on the acquisition aspect of it. And again, I don't want to see a bunch of people getting bought out, but it is fun to kind of think about for a second, for me, even if I don't want it to happen. So what I want from the Bungie acquisition from Sony is to maintain Destiny and support Destiny. They've already said they're going to do that. I'd like to eventually see a Destiny 3, although I do like that they prolonged Destiny 2. Originally under Activision, they were going to rush into a Destiny 3, and I'm glad they didn't do that. They are working on new IP. I want to see a new IP. I want to see a Sony exclusive FPS from them. Not to get back at anybody, but Sony is really big on their exclusives. They make great exclusives. And if they had something that was more in competition with... honestly, here's where my brain's at. Call of Duty is in a fucking lull. It's been in a lull for years. Modern Warfare 2019 did good, but everything else has been like, eh.
So everyone's playing Halo. So.
Battlefield's fucking dead.
Yeah,
5 was not good, and fucking 2042 was worse. It's just been it's been a fucking cliff they just went off of, right? They could bring it back, but right now they're not. Obviously, Halo is a lot of fun, but a lot of people do not like the progression. A lot of people do not like the microtransaction system. There's people on Twitter begging people not to buy the fucking cat ears, right? That everybody was really excited about.
Sounds like people with World of Warcraft, like store mounts and stuff, and Final Fantasy store mounts and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So even though the game is fun, there's people who are just like morally against the game, right? So it's a really weird place we're in when it comes to FPSs. So if Sony could offer a competitive shooter alternative, now I think is the fucking time to break into the market. And they can make a multi-platform. I think, Sony has that reputation of making exclusive games. They are obviously moving towards multi-platform, but now's the time. Or have one of their main Sony devs work on an FPS and have Bungie assist with it.
Yeah, honestly, I think I'd prefer them to make a multi-platform shooter and then have something out there to break. Like you said, there is a lull.
Yeah, if you want to punch into FPSs right now, if you can make a solid one, you could get traction right now.
Yeah, it'd just be money if it was multi-platform. Outside of the scope of them, locking people into the PlayStation ecosystem, you can't get consoles hard. You can, but the work you have to put in to get one is a full-time job, pretty much. So.
Well, the two benefits from both sides of it is PlayStation exclusive sell consoles. So making a FPS that you're not expecting from Sony that's exclusive to the console would be good for the console. But I would like to also see somebody break in and make the new next competitive shooter, with a story, whatever. And Bungie would be a great company to create it. And yeah, make it multi-platform, because that now creates competition, and I want more fucking variety. I'm getting sick of this Call of Duty's pretty good, this one's not that great, this one's kind of meh, this one's pretty good, this one's kind of meh, and then Battlefield just being disappointed over and over and over again, and then you got to wait like 5 years for Halo. So somebody else, let's get some fresh blood.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps talking about like Killzone and Resistance, which, that's the thing. I liked Killzone back in the day, but you would have to reconfigure that game for modern times, because I can't imagine that game competing with a game like Call of Duty in terms of like an online multiplayer and a single player.
It doesn't have remotely the same scope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The immersion factor of Killzone was fucking great, but that was about it. You looked at it, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say impossible, obviously, because people can make and reinvent things and make great things. I mean,
reboot it, change it into a different game, but just keep the Killzone aesthetic.
But I'm doubtful with those IPs. So.
And I wasn't a big Resistance fan, so for me, you'd have to hard reboot that. The guns were cool. I'll give you guys that, but the gameplay was so boring to me. And the idea was like, okay, it's just alien shit. But
also, Insomnia just kind of mostly kills it in the like, I'm gonna make a single player game field.
Well, yeah, they're killing right now. I don't even want them to deviate from what they're doing right now. They're just on a good streak. But anyway, my point is those are some Sony FPSs. Also a SOCOM. I would fucking love a new SOCOM. Like a tactical shooter. Like who the hell, what AAA developers making tactical shooters right now? Nobody.
It ain't Ubisoft.
It ain't Ubisoft. Yeah, and they own them all pretty much, and they don't make any of them. Anyway, so spitballing, those are all things that they have access to, but I would also love to see a brand. Remember when Destiny was originally fucking announced? Mm-hmm. Everybody was excited.
Played it day one.
Yeah. And even though it had its issues, it was fun.
Yeah.
Bungie making like a brand new fucking shooter under Sony would be huge. Like, it would be high quality. It'd be imaginative. I mean, we got Halo from them. We got Destiny from them. And even though they kind of play pretty similarly, they both have their own visual styles, their own lore, even though the story in Destiny was told horribly. You had to go on fucking line to find it.
That's a problem with a lot of those type of games, but yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So anyway, that's what I want. Just being realistic, maintain Destiny, make Destiny better. Hire more people, like they're saying, make Destiny fucking awesome. And I'm sure Sony will be fucking stoked to have that online game that they've been wanting. But then, yeah, let's get that new IP out there and make people excited about, Sony offering, new things that we're not expecting. So that's what I like to see.
Yeah.
I like to see more from them as well, but they're only one dev. So yeah. And then also one last thing I want to talk about, unless you have something else to add to that. I keep seeing people talking about how 3.6 billion was too much for Bungie, which I'm not sure what they're really pulling that from. Sony values them at that. Bungie sold themselves for that. I think everyone's happy with that. 3.6 billion is a lot less than 68.7 billion, a lot less than 12 billion. And they're getting an online game out of it, essentially, and more from it. But all I can think is if you can buy one dev for 3.6 billion, imagine if they wanted to spend 70 or 68 billion as well on companies. Not saying they're going to do that. How many devs could they buy with that? They could really spread out and be tactical with the fucking devs that they buy.
Yeah.
Which I think, I don't want them to do this, but I think that's what they're doing. I think they're going to buy like a 5 billion here, a 4 billion there, but just like make sure they're branching in the directions that they need.
Yeah.
By Konami.
I think the other part people are thinking about too, because I'm sure they're immediately comparing it to the Microsoft Activision.
That's all it's been. It's been people just arguing about that.
I have news for people who aren't, expanding their brain a little bit here. Activision's a publisher, not a developer. Mm-hmm. They own a crap ton of developers under their umbrella.
Well, in the price point of 68.7 billion, you bought technically Activision Blizzard, but you just bought two major companies. I mean, like Activision owns Blizzard, but like Blizzard is its own entity with its own games and dev teams. So you didn't just buy it, like you did technically buy that, but like you bought a lot of fucking people and things. That's what that price point is.
Call of Duty devs, you bought the fucking
you bought a lot of
guys,
devs.
you bought like it's a shit ton of people. It's not a small purchase. It's a lot
Exactly.
of
So
it's in one bundle.
It's not like you can compare Bungie to Activision Blizzard. It's not the same. I mean, Bungie would essentially be one of the devs. They would be like Raven under fucking Activision Blizzard.
Yeah. The only thing you can compare to Activision is EA and Ubisoft.
Yeah, so if you start cutting up Activision Blizzard and sold off individual devs per piece, they'd probably be around this price point, depending on how good they are.
For sure. And the amount of properties they have, right?
Yeah.
Bungie has one game. So
yeah, they're making one game right now.
Yeah.
While working on another game, but yeah.
Sure, but they have a game.
They have a game money to their name, yeah.
So
do you think we're going to see production boost? I mean, they're hiring more people. Do you think we're going to see...
I feel like that's going to go towards the new IP.
Yeah.
Which is smart.
Do you think we'll see a third thing they're working on?
I mean, hopefully if either Sony sees something there or they prove themselves in a way to Sony, that Sony will, spring for giving them the resources to work on multiple projects. That'd be great. But even within their first party devs, like their big ones, like they usually make a game at a time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tricky. But we are also comparing like heavy story games to whatever. I don't know what Bungie's working on. I assume another service game.
That's the interesting thing too, though, is like Bungie they've made games with really cool lore. Bungie is horrible at telling stories, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
I don't think they're good at storytelling. That doesn't mean they couldn't get good at it. You can just hire a new fucking director or whatever. But under Sony, I'd like to see an improvement on that.
Yeah.
Whatever new games.
Yeah, I would say
because Sony's known for their storytelling.
Well, and I think you said it right. They make like Halo's full of great lore.
Yeah.
For example, and
Halo's lore is awesome.
Great lore.
Yeah.
The storytelling is like whatever though.
Yeah.
So the point A to point B, I should say.
And it would just seem weird for Sony not to care about that, because all their games,
it's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment Ragnarok comes out, like that, people are going to be talking about how badass it is and how good the story is.
Yeah, it's probably going to win Game of the Year.
Yeah, so
I mean, like, if it doesn't, it's going to be top 3. I mean, like, I can't imagine it not.
So yeah, I hope they can work on multiple games. And if the plan is to maybe put Destiny 2 into, I can't remember what the term of that is, but basically just in maintenance mode, while maybe releasing another service game or even maybe another Destiny.
What if they made 2 service games?
They'd be joining Square at that point, and Blizzard, so in having multiple service games. So
I wonder what kind of perks we'll see, though. I know for they're gonna have to do some kind of like Sony Destiny thing. I know since Destiny's come out, it's been like advertised as a PlayStation thing anyway. Like they have a really good relationship ever since Destiny. It was actually shown at, I think, one of PlayStation's things, Destiny, when it was first revealed.
Well, I think Destiny 2 also has Sony-only levels.
Yeah, so I expect to see more stuff like that. Or maybe when PlayStation Plus does their like giveaway things, will be a lot of Destiny shit.
Probably in the same way like New World and Lost Ark will have tons of Twitch drops, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. So. Yeah, exactly. We should probably close this out because we have another episode to film tonight, and I have to edit both of those and shoot them. What do you think about the movie and TV thing? It's really interesting that Sony brings that up. Do you think we would possibly see I'm sure Sony would love to make a Destiny
There's
movie.
an Uncharted movie coming out. They're going to be willing to do whatever.
Yeah.
And that point is something I didn't think about until you brought it up, which obviously they had to bring up. I don't think anyone's thinking about that, because what's happening is gamers are reading this stuff and they're thinking about video games.
And I try to tell people all the time.
The ecosystem of looking at the gaming companies, we brought this up in the last acquisition, but Tencent, Sony, Microsoft are the top dogs in that field in the gaming department. But then when you start branching on other things, Microsoft's not making TVs. Microsoft doesn't have a movie studio.
Well, except for Paramount Plus's Halo series. They partnered with them.
It's a partnership,
Yeah.
not them owning it.
Yeah.
Like,
In which we did a reaction to the trailer for that, so make sure to go check that out.
yeah, I mean, Sony has tons of departments. This is on a Sony camera right now. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of Sony cameras in this house.
yeah, my TV in the living room is a Sony, for example. I mean, they make all sorts of stuff, and so that stuff being available to these devs having access to these other departments of Sony allows for interesting things, and more specifically TV shows and movies would be the obvious first choice, I think, of a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, whenever people start talking about this kind of stuff, I'm like, Sony owns a lot of departments though. Like they do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, not to get into it, but I see a lot of the strategy they use in the PlayStation division of Sony, very similar to their camera division of Sony. They're very cutthroat in both sides. So it must be a Sony philosophy to try and fuck over your competition and make them look bad. Because every time Canon releases a camera and thinks they're catching up, Sony releases something that makes it look like whatever. So, and then with this, Xbox is like 3 years and then we'll see. And there's like, yeah, it's going to be multi-platform. Just like when Xbox was like, you're going to be always online. They're like, we're not doing that. You're just going to play games on this. And it's going to be fun. So Sony's really good about the PR shit. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what they do. If they do TV or movie stuff with Bungie, whatever new IP they could create, they could already pre-plan to have a movie coincide with it or a TV show, and then also, a sci-fi Destiny movie could be cool. Probably tell a better story than how they tell it in the game.
Well, they'd have writers.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sure Destiny has writers, but
and not fucking what's his face from Game of Thrones doing voice work over a phone.
Well, until what's his face took over.
That wizard came from the moon. Yeah. Closing though, overall, I think this was a smart acquisition. It doesn't have me excited, and I'm not like, holy shit, this changes everything. But I think this is a really smart tactical move by Sony. I think it makes complete sense. I just did not think of it. So obviously they're way ahead of me on this. It's their company. And I don't think this is the last of it. I do think they are going to start purchasing, not as big of purchases as Microsoft, but I think they are going to start creating their umbrella to cover all of their weaknesses. And I think this is the beginning of what we're going to see from that. I'm very curious on what the other acquisitions they're talking about are. There were rumors. I'm getting sick of seeing this shit. On Twitter, people are like, rumor, and then like in big letters, and then they say some random thing. I'm like, where'd that come from, though?
Yeah.
What do you mean rumor?
They're starting the rumor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, is this your rumor? Because like, you have no source. People are like, rumor, Sony's going to buy EA. And it's like, okay, where'd you get that from? You don't have info? Then what the fuck are we talking about here?
That would be such a weird one because EA has like a good relationship with Microsoft.
Yeah.
EA.
I think EA's got a good relationship with everybody, but yeah, when I think of EA, I think of like my Xbox.
First company they did that EA All Access thing with was with Xbox.
Oh, yeah. And Ubisoft was quick to jump on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Ubisoft is quick to just give their shit away. So
Ubisoft's ready to jump on everyone. So
yeah, I'm not. I want to make a video on Ubisoft because I'm like, they've gone from a company that I thought was the best of the three, and now the three are gone. But I really think Ubisoft is making some crucially fucking bad decisions. Insulting people about the NFT thing, horrible fucking move to the point where I almost don't want to buy Ubisoft games now. Because that was fucking stupid. But we'll save that for another thing.
It's about time to go indie again, huh?
Yup. Big Three's dead, dude. With that, anything else you want to add to the conversation, or?
No, I mean, really, the only thing I could think of when you're talking about weaknesses is the only other thing I can think of that Sony doesn't have right now off the top of my head that Microsoft just recently acquired is an MMO. So
Square Enix.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14.
I love 14. I love my PlayStation. I don't necessarily want them to be the same.
I don't want big companies buying everybody. Yeah. People need to have their like you can have these contracts where you're like, yeah, they say that we're gonna have our own, creative freedom. It's like they say that, but once they own you, they can change their mind in a year.
Yeah.
They could slowly move you into a direction because they fucking own you at that point, right?
Well, yeah. Look at what happened with Blizzard over time. So
Exactly, 100%. Like fucking, they also signed on in the same kind of idea, and then slowly the money fucking started speaking more than the passion for the games, and slowly everybody fucking left.
yeah.
And then it just became a fucking husk of itself, former self. And so companies like Square Enix and FromSoft or whatever would benefit from joining like a bigger fucking company. But at the same time, what they're doing and that's so exciting for their fans at this present moment had nothing to do with the people who could potentially buy them. And so when you start interfering with that, you start changing things up and you're creating a new route for that company to go down. And I'd prefer people stay independent, keep their passion, and go down their trajectories of making the games in their vision, and not just get bought out by somebody and start doing their bidding. It's not good for competition. It's not good for creating new ideas. There are some benefits, and I do think the Activision Blizzard thing. When I think about this, it's funny. I think of Bungie. I'm like, Bungie's doing fine. They bought them. That makes sense. That's cool. Activision Blizzard, I'm like, dude, they bought a broken fucking house. It's a fixer upper.
Yeah.
Potentially, it's gonna fucking make them a lot of money.
Bought names is what they did.
Yeah, but that fucking shit burnt the fuck down. So
yeah, they had a rough 2021.
So they spent a shitload of money on a house they got to fix up. And they're gonna do it. I hope. Yeah, but yeah, it's just interesting. Anyway,
we're rambling.
Yeah, I don't want everyone getting acquired. That'd be boring, and I don't like boring. Anything else? All right, let us know in the comments. What do you guys think of the Sony acquisition of Bungie? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you have any concerns? Do you have any things you'd like to see from this? How do you feel about it overall? And what do you think about the ecosystem of gaming as of January of 2022? Things are changing, and so where do you think this is going? And let me know everything you're thinking about. And if you disagree with anything we said, let's talk about it. We have a great community. No one's going to be like, fuck that. But, we're starting in this territory where you are starting to see a lot of fans of Microsoft and Sony wanting not only to acquire companies, but also the other company do badly. And even Phil Spencer congratulated Sony on purchasing what they said was a very talented company in Bungie.
Well, and Jim Ryan responded to that too.
And he was also like, thanks. Yeah. Like, not Jim Ryan, it was Herman Holtz.
Herman. Yeah.
He was like, thanks, blah, 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 blah. So even they're fucking, even though it's all business, but they're all fucking chill. I'm seeing too many people like getting cutthroat about this shit. I'm like, I don't want this to be fucking gaming. It's so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Like I get a little behind the fucking console stuff. It's kind of fun to see strategies and see how the companies get competitive with each other, but people want other companies to fucking go under. And that is horrible for fucking gaming. So anyway, this whole acquisition thing is really bringing all like the worst out of people right now in the gaming industry, and it's or the gaming community, and it kind of sucks to watch. So I don't want to keep going on this path, but I think we are.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like that's also a lot of younger gamers.
Oh, dude, of course it is. Of course it is. But you also see people fucking my age on different places saying this shit. I'm like, dude, so dumb.
Well, they never grew up in the first place.
Like, yeah, 100%. With that, let us know everything you're thinking about in the comments below. That's going to do it for this TLG Reacts. Stay tuned. We have Game of the Month coming up as well, where we will be picking a new Game of the Month for February and discussing Icarus' first cohort. I've been Seth. Thank you, Chevy, for joining me. I'll see you real soon, and I'll see you guys soon. Until then, have a good one, and take it easy.